I'm Matt.
I'm Ace.
And I'm Nick.
And in this episode, we're talking news and reviews.
And a special interview with Mr. Clayton Crain.
This is Lightning League Podcast.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, just whatever a spider can. Spins a web in his eyes, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Yes, he's strong, listen, bud. He's got radioactive blood. Can't sleep from a
All right, welcome to today's episode of the Lightning League Podcast. Well, today we're kind of in the pre-San Diego glut news-wise, so there isn't much to talk about. One sad note that I have to bring up is yesterday the independent comic world and pop culture world lost an icon in Harvey Pekar. If you don't know Harvey's work, he did the independent autobiographical series American Splendor that was just basically about his mundane life. They made a really great movie a couple years ago with Paul Giamatti. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend going out and seeing it. So,
What was the name of the movie?
American Splendor.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what makes
In
sense.
Dolby Stereo.
Yes. So yes, we lost a big icon there, but I would definitely recommend checking out the movie and see what his life was like. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about news-wise today. Nick, did you have a review you wanted to give us?
Well, they came out with the Hellboy Seed of Destruction book. They reprinted it in a small hardback book with the actual Hellboy figure. And if you haven't read Seed of Destruction, it's what they wrote the script for the first Hellboy movie off of. And the books actually, they just left a lot of parts out of the movie that was in the book, as usual. But
Yeah, see, that's what happened. I don't even know what volume it was, but it had a sticker on it that said that Hellboy 2 was based on it. And the only thing it had in common with Hellboy 2 was it had a dude with a fist on a chain. And that was the only thing it had in common.
it
with
had the
so.
same people, but this
Yeah.
story was completely different. But this one it's really close to the movie.
Okay.
I mean, they pretty much wrote the script right off the book.
Cool.
So they did change the ending a little bit. The movie ending was a lot more dramatic. This one
Really?
was kind of more just
Yeah, well,
fighting.
we've talked about how Hollywood likes to tinker with comics. My pick this week was one I've really been looking forward to. It is Avengers: The Children's Crusade #1. This is for all intents and purposes just Young Avengers number 13. It reunites the original Young Avengers creative team of Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung for the first time in 4 years. I know the Young Avengers have had a bunch of miniseries for every crossover. Like they had a Secret Invasion miniseries, they had a Civil War miniseries, but nothing is really compared to the original series. This jumped right back into the old vibe of the original. It basically, this was the first comic in a long time. The last page gave me chills, and a comic hasn't been able to do that in a very long time. So I would highly recommend, seeking this one out. If you're a Avengers fan, a Young Avengers fan, a Marvel fan in general, it's not, for some reason, it's not branded with
just
the whole.
a fan.
Just a fan. It wasn't branded with the Heroic Age banner for some reason, which kind of disappointed me because it doesn't jump off the stands like all the rest of the newly branded Avengers ones. But it's on par, if not above, in my opinion, most of the Avengers books out there right now. So pick that one up. Ace?
Well, my pick this week, well, it's been out for a couple of weeks now, but it's the second part of Amazing Spider-Man Presents American Son. When last we left our intrepid band, we thought it would be the last time, but they're back. Actually, Harry was sent to the hospital with a gunshot wound by a mysterious assailant. Who could it be? We don't know. So Harry, of course, gets pissed off because he thinks it's Daddy still tinkering around, so he confronts him in the prison where he's being held, and Daddy goes, well, no, it's the brother that you didn't know about, and the son that I've always wanted, kind of thing. It's the assailant, another of Osborn's sons. It seems at the end that he's got a little conflict of his own, where Daddy was psycho and more psycho. He's got a little different conflicting interests. It's worth picking up.
Interesting. Okay. Well, a couple days ago, we had a big signing here in the store. Mr. Clayton Crain, who is the superstar artist of X-Force. So we had a little opportunity to interview him, so we'll go ahead and show that to you now. Okay, well, we're here at Lightning Comics with Mr. Clayton Crain, who is doing a sketch for a customer as we talked to him, but he gave us a few minutes to ask him some questions. Well,
How are you doing today, Mr. Crain?
I'm excellent.
Awesome. Well, we just got a couple of quick questions for you that we ask all of our guests here on the Lightning League podcast. What was the first comic book you ever read or bought?
Jeez.
I know it's a
Comic
hard
book.
question.
I would say Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah, and my family was asleep, but we were on the road, and I was at a cousin's house, and I just found a comic book, and I was reading it in the back. So now it happened to be the Swamp Thing.
Cool.
So,
It's a cool story.
actually, I just remembered it now.
Yeah. Childhood memories.
Awesome. What comic book superhero do you most identify with?
Identify with you, like as in, like I feel like I'm like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Associate
Really?
with.
Yeah.
Jeez. Is there one that just sits around and draws all day?
Well, let's see,
That would
Kyle
be-
Rayner was
Yeah,
an
that's the only one I can
artist.
think of.
I guess Steve Rogers was an artist,
Doesn't like moving much.
too.
Man, that is a very awkward question.
Tim
I
said
wonder what-
Well, who do you like to draw the
Yeah.
most?
I would say I'd say Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
You know,
I thought that's
well,
what you'd say.
Yeah, well, I enjoy him, but as far as like, he's only as interesting as his villain. So.
Yeah.
You know.
And the last question is, if you were stuck in the Phantom Zone or the Negative Zone, what graphic novel would you take with you?
I would probably take. I would probably take the compilation of McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man books.
Awesome.
Very good.
You know, I could always still look at those. They're still enjoyable.
That's cool. All right, well, Matt has a couple quick questions for you before we let you go.
These are a little bit more geared towards you. You have one of the most unique styles in the industry these days, which is achieved by digital painting. When exactly did you start using this method, and what tools do you use to achieve it?
I started in '03. I tried to do my own book by penciling, inking, and coloring it, and it took 3 months just to get to get through a book.
Wow.
If not almost finishing it. And then and as I was working on those, I kept pulling off the inks in order to see what was behind it, and it just looked much better. Just the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, well, all I need to do is add in some sharper or some real hard contrast for that black. And then eventually I just started working black and then painting in black over black. And that gave me everything that I needed as far as making it look more like comic books. Was there a second part to that?
What tools do you use?
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Mostly Photoshop.
You use like a Cintiq? Or?
I use I started off with a Wacom tablet, Photoshop, kind of a large monitor. Now I use Cintiq, just with my laptop.
Okay,
So.
very cool. And I know San Diego's coming up pretty quick, and you have to stay tight-lipped, but your run on X-Force was famous for its graphic death and carnage, and can we expect as much from your next project?
No, I think the next project will be more, I guess, geared towards kind of the direction of like Ghost Rider Road to Damnation, in that I'll be taking more time on it to just go crazy with detail and have fun with it, or at least at certain points. Maybe not as detailed as Ghost Rider, where I was drawing behind the panels and drawing almost ridiculously over on everything, but getting really tight, because with X-Force it was very dark, so it gave me a lot of room to just relax and not go so hard.
Right.
I didn't have to I didn't have to render everything out completely.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, I'm sure we all look forward to it. Thanks again for taking the time to talk with us today, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, folks, obviously Ace has been moved to tears by that interview, but we appreciate you watching today's episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.